Today's daf is daf Mem Tes Amid Aleph. So in a nutshell, the Mishnah is continuing with a number of cases of Tikkun Olam that we amended the laws to improve the life of different people. So the first thing it says is that the quality of fields that you collect for Nezikin, for example, it causes damages, is from idiots from the best of the fields. And we asked, why does it say it's a Tikkun Olam? Isn't that the law? So the first answer we gave in the Gemara is that we're following Rabbi Shmuel's view. There's an argument between Rabbi Shmuel, the speech of Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says that the mazik gives his best field, and Rabbi Shmuel is much more lenient. He says it's the best field of the nizik. So if the mazik's zeburius, worst field, is equal to the nizik's, to the victim's best field, that's what he gives. That was Mahalacha. Comes along Tikkun Olam and says, no, give the best of your fields. And Rabbi Akiva also made the comment that since we say that you got to give the best, and we're assuming he meant the best of the mazik's fields, kal v'chomer lehektish. So now we're going to focus on what's this kal v'chomer lehektish. What about hektish? Where did hektish come in here? And what's the kal v'chomer? So we're in the Memtes Amud Halef, and the Gemara says Rabbi Akiva Omer, about 10 lines on the top of the page. Rabbi Akiva Omer, loy bo hakosov, the Torah is not coming, but what's the pasuk written for? Which says, "Mate of Sadeu, made the Kami Shalom, the best of your fields you should pay." Ela ligboy shelazikin mina idius, to give the zikin from the best of the fields, which we interpreted to mean the best of the mazik fields, and kavachayv lehegdish, and surely the same thing applies to hegdish. So, my kavachayv lehegdish, what exactly do you mean by those words? Ileb, is he saying? It's the same case of a mazik. So by a hedyet, the mazik has to pay for the best of the field. Surely, if you damage the field, if you've damaged something from that belongs to hegdish, surely the mazik, the perpetrator of the crime, has to pay the best of his fields. Is that what it means? I wanted our cow, gourd, the cows of hegdish. Not only don't you pay idios, you don't pay anything. You're exempt, because it says in the pasuk that if a cow, the ox of a person gores the ox of his friend, the eyu. So he dash to me his friend. Sure, the eyu of Rachman of hegdish. If you gore the animal of hegdish, you don't pay anything. You're exempt. So what's the kavachim? Talking about nothing to do with goring. A person says, I am going to donate a mana to the maintenance of the Beis Hamikdash. So now you have a debt to the Beis Hamikdash. The Asi Gizba, the Gabe comes, the Shakal, and collects from what? The idiots for the best of your fields. Now the question is why? A mazik you collect from idiots, but we learned in the Mishnah about Chayv collects from Benyanis, from the average fields. So why should Hegdish get more? All you are is a Bal Chayv. You owe money. But the Hegdish is a Bal Chayv, the lender, you owe them money. Bal Chayv didn't Benyanis, is entitled only to Benyanis. Yeah, but you can't make a kavachayim. You can never make more than what the original halacha you learn from. That you love in English cannot. So you're learning from, can't be learning from a mazik. You must be learning from balchayv. No, balchayv ordinarily gets a bonus. So heck, you saw we'll definitely get a bonus. That's all. Maybe because Rabbi Akiva holds that a balchayv actually shakal be idiots. Maybe because since we decided that our mission is not Rabbi Akiva, it's Rabbi Shmuel. Maybe in the second din he also argues. Maybe he holds that a balchayv gets bonus. Every Balchayv collects idiots, and that's the Kal V'Chomer. And Hegdish surely collects idiots. Kedazikin, Ikel and Mifrach, even if that's the case, there's no Kal V'Chomer. And how is that? Mal Balchayv, you know why an ordinary Balchayv perhaps collects idiots, can you have a Koichem or Zikin? A regular Balchayv, let's say, if he would have been on the receiving end of damages, he would have also collected idiots. He collected idiots by the Zikin, he collected idiots by Balchay, by alone. But Hegdish has a weakness. We just established that a Hegdish collects nothing if their stock were damaged. So how do we know when it comes to Balchay, something they're stronger? Maybe they're weaker there also. Maybe they get Zaburius. So let's go back to the original assumption. Talking about that we gored an animal of Hegdish, and the Kal V'Chomer is you pay idiots. But we just said that you're exempt. Rabbi Akiva holds that you're not exempt. Rabbi Akiva like Rabbi Shimon ben Asiyah. Rabbi Akiva holds like Rabbi Shimon ben Asiyah. The Tanya we learned. Rabbi Shimon ben Asiyah. Rabbi Shimon ben Asiyah says that if a shoy shel hegdish shenogach l'shoy shel heged, if an ordinary if an animal belongs to hegdish gourd, an ordinary animal potter, hegdish is exempt. But if shel heged shenogach l'shoy shel hegdish, not only are you not exempt, you're actually more stringent. And what is that? An ordinary person, the first 3 times your animal gores, you pay only half a nezek. It's called a tam. Well, if you were if you became a habitual gorer, you became a moed, then you pay 3 times. You pay the full amount. And the chiddush hegdish is that even the very first time you damage the animal hegdish, you pay the full amount. That's a big chumrah. So he holds that hegdish bring tam ben movement shalom the shalom. That hegdish is actually strict, and therefore kavochem at hegdish. What do you pay? You pay for your best quality fields. So keep a hold that you actually do pay money to hegdish. Says the Gemara. If you're telling me now, so they're arguing regarding hegdish. Bishmol holds when you gore hegdish, you pay nothing. Rabbi Kiva holds when you gore hegdish, you pay in nezik shalom. It's actually machagir shaynim. If this din that you pay hegdish straight away and you're not exempt, is it only limited to case of keden, or is it talking about shen regel as well? All these other ones, definitely there you pay and you pay either straight away. We're only talking about here by where there's a tam and a muad. That's when we're learning within. Or do we say no that they don't pay rosh shen regel? You only pay by keden, or you pay by all of them. But so. Make another machlekes. We decided the argument of Yisrael is whether if the worst field that the mazik owns is equivalent to the best field in Nizik, what do you pay? So according to Shmuel, you pay according to the best field of the Nizik. So it's a kula as far as the mazik is concerned. The mazik has to pay his best field. So that's what we said before. But now that you tell me they're arguing if you gore an animal head, you pay now. So maybe everyone agrees as far as the quality of the field. Maybe everyone agrees you pay the worst field of the mazik, which is the best field in Nizik. Maybe there's no argument there. And the only argument they have here is regarding hegdish. That's in fact the argument. When Rabbi Kiva throws in Kalbachim hegdish because of Yisrael, you pay nothing by hegdish. Because Rabbi Kiva says no, you pay even not only you don't pay nothing, you pay a move straight away. Rabbi Kiva saw the you don't pay. Says the language is not right. If so, according to you, then they're not arguing at all about the Edius or the Tburius. They're only arguing regarding the hegdish. What's that introduction? The pasuk is not coming only to collect from Edius. Everyone agrees you're collecting from the same thing. They're only arguing regarding hegdish. And furthermore, my kavochem hegdish comes out. If now you're telling me Rabbi Kiva agrees with Rabbi Shmuel that there's a leniency here, that if a mazik has good fields, superior fields, and low class fields, that he pays the poorer quality fields, so that's a leniency. So what's the kavochem hegdish being machmer? What's kavochem? Kavochem hegdish you also make? Only what's the kavochem here? Well, furthermore, Rav Ashi and Bechlal, we're going to knock it on his head because there's a brisa. Rav Ashi said, Tanya behedya, there's a brisa that clearly spells out what their argument is. It says, Meitav Sadeyu, Meitav Karma Yishalom. So what's the best of his field? Whose field? So Bishmol teaches Meitav Sadeyu Shal Nizik, the best field of the Nizik, or Meitav Karma Shal, the best vineyard of the Nizik. Divid Rabbi Shmuel, he was Rabbi Shmuel, like we said before. And Rabbi Kiva, Meitav Sadeyu Shal Mazik, clear. Rabbi Kiva says, Sadeyu, the one who's paying his fields, Meitav Karma Shal Mazik, the best of the vineyards of the Mazik. Clear. So that's one understanding why our Mishnah says that paying Idius for a Nizik is a Tikkun Olam, because the author of our Mishnah, Rabbi Shmuel, because he holds, according to Halacha, the Zaburius of the Mazik is equivalent to the Idius of the Nizik, that's what you pay. Tikkun Olam says, no, pay your Idius as well. It's only Midrabban. That's answer number one. Answer number two. Adina says, L'elam masnisin Rabbi Kivi. We're going to make the author of our Mishnah Rabbi Kiva. We have a problem. If the author of our Mishnah Rabbi Kiva says that you only pay your, Rabbi Kiva says you pay your idiots. So what's the tikkun olam? It says all the entire Mishnah are different institutions that they made with tikkun olam, and according to Rabbi Kiva, that's the law. Says the Gemara, Rabbi Olam is Rabbi Kiva. The Mazik Shemin that you always pay the best fields. But the author of Mishnah is actually Rab Shimon, who likes to give us explanations to din. Rabbi Shimon says, "Yidarshin time of the crow," and even if the outcome as a result of that is different. For example, you shouldn't take a mashkin, from an almana, because you come back every night to bring it back. If we pour on money, bringing it back every night, people are going to start spreading rumors. Now, what happens? She's a rich woman. And it doesn't need the mashkin back, so there's nothing wrong. So if Shimon says, according to the Chachamim, there's no reason given in the Torah why you shouldn't. So therefore, it makes no difference. Rich or poor is the same thing. But if Shimon says dash time to cry, he said the reason is because you're going to go back every night. Therefore, he passes for a rich person allowed. So his time of the crow actually has outcomes. I remember correctly, Chacham Sefer the Tshuva, one of the Tshuva says, where there's no machlekes, we will dash in time of the crow, and we will have ramifications. When do we say that we don't pass like Shimon is when the Rabbanan argue, for example, and his tam argues the Rabbanan, we're not going to follow it. But if there's no argument, everybody's arguing, and we do dash time of the crow, and there will be, as a result, different ramifications, as we see. So, Rabbi Shimon is coming to explain the reason behind every one of these rules. So, like as follows. The Dorish Tarikra, Umatam Mishnah is explaining why. Why did the Torah say you should collect from idiots? Matam Hanazokin Shomin Lahamidis. Why is idiots? Mipnei Tikkun Olam. What's the Tikkun Olam? The Tanya we learned. We don't want people gazlonim, the chamsonim, and the a gazlan, somebody doesn't pay, and a chamson forces you to give it to him, and he pays you, but he forces you. Adam, a person will say, "You think I'll benefit from stealing? Why am I doing that?" The Macha Bezin Yoidin Lechosai, Bezin will come to collect the night and I'll take my best fields, even better than what I stole. Let's say I sold the fields, I don't have it anymore. Preventative measure. Exactly. The same thing, the mate of Sadeh made the Kamisham, and we rely on what the Torah says that you're best in the fields, but that's the reason behind it. That's why. So it's like Tikkun Olam. No, the Torah reason for legislating accordingly is because this benefits the world. And then we continue the mission. Why is it about Chayiv get babies? About Chayiv technically maybe only gets the Buddhists. Why get babies? And why not? First of all, why not idiots? If a mazik has to pay these, why should a pay these? Again, the trader says bains. And why? You see somebody has a beautiful field, beautiful house, and he doesn't want to sell. So you say, you know what? I'm going to lend the money. He doesn't really coax him into lending, borrowing money from me. And then the I will go ahead and I will lend the money. And then he won't have the money to pay, and I'll collect the property. We brought it down to a bainis, so he loses incentive. Let's all go down all the way to Zaburius. He definitely loses incentive. Why didn't he just give us Zaburius? So we answer in Cain, because if so, people stop lending money. Because nobody really wants a Zaburius field. It requires a lot of work, doesn't matter what the value of the field is. So therefore, we have to find a balance to protect the borrower. You shouldn't be exploited, and protect the lender, that they should have an incentive to lend, to do the mitzvah of lending money. Ksubas isha b'zaburis. Why the ksuba woman b'zaburis? It doesn't say why. The ksuba isha is a zaburis. We'll see in a minute. A maid says a bainis. A maid actually holds that the ksuba of a woman is a bainis. Amar of Shimon. Why taka is a zaburis? Why aren't we worried of the evil zealous? On the one hand, we're worried that if we're going to give idiots for her, she's going to make sure she gets to the fight with the husband. Let's say things are not going that great. She'll get to the fight with the husband. The husband is going to divorce her, and she'll get the best fields. And she knows she wants to go and take care of herself, and she'll go out and she'll provoke him. She'll do for a bainis or as a Buddhist, she won't do that. I said, why don't we at least make it a bainis? People won't want to get married. So he said, don't worry about it. People would, marriage is more than just money, and people want to have a relationship, and therefore we can leave her as a Buddhist, take away your incentive, and we don't have to give her an incentive to want to get married. And another reason is a woman gets divorced whether she likes it or not. A man can only get issue a divorce if he agrees. According to Chayna. There's a Rambam that paskins, and I use this Gemara to ask the Rambam. The Rambam paskins an interesting halacha. The Rambam paskins that there is one situation where a woman can force a husband to give her a get, and the bezin will enforce it. And that is, she says, "Mo Israelite, I can't live with him. I find him repugnant, repulsive." And that's what the Rambam says, which is an amazing halacha, which is that a woman has an outlet. Yeah. Which she's not really, you don't hear about it. The Rashba argues the Rambam based on this Gemara right here. So the Gemara says, Isha never goes out Sorry, a husband never has to issue a get, only if he is willing.
So why not everybody use this as a loophole then?
Because we don't. But this is what Rashba uses this Gemara to argue. I guess the Rambam going to say, remember the Rambam says when you force a person to give a get, he has to say right something because deep down he really wants to do the right thing. You just have to bring it out of him. So maybe that can fall under the China as well. Ultimately, the China. Anyway, what does it have to do with giving a ksubim? What is this? What are you saying here? I'm going to say something totally different. If you're going to say in a situation where he is the one who initiates the get, he has to pay the ksubim. So when she issues the get, when she is the one who drives the get, she should pay ksubim. It can never happen. A woman can never initiate the get. It's always the man. That's part of the kasha that I asked on the Rambam. Because he says he has control, and he says, you know what, I'm not going to take care of it. I'll do the minimum, but I'm not giving you a get till you control yourself. Okay. Subazisha is the Buddhi, the Mishnah says, that explains our Mishnah. So Mishnah holds that Mahataida is English. Now the Gemara says, Subas Isha is a Buddhist woman, according to the Chacham and Napramer, is entitled to a Buddhi. Mazut comes up with a novel Chiddush. When the woman collects, if the husband dies and the woman collects a ksubah from the Yisraimim, she collects from Zaburis. But if the husband is alive and he divorces her, then she collects from Bainis. From the husband himself, the Bainis. The Bainis. I'm going to ask the obvious question. Our Mishnah says, in the next case, the Mishnah says, that you don't get paid from Yisraimim, only from Zaburis. So what's so unique about ksubah? Any payment, a lender, when he comes to collect for the orphans, he only gets some Zaburis. So why does the Mishnah highlight Isha? Says my idiot Ksubas Isha, if you'll call me the Nami, all loans or debts you collect for your same and you collect as a Buddhist. Now, look in the very same Mishnah. Ain't the Froyim Menichli Saimim, Ella Min as a Buddhist. Ella Minay. Must be the Chiddush here is that that from the husband himself, he's still alive, you collect the Buddhist. She gets a Buddhist. So no, the Yasna, Simon. Balchayv, Mazik, Nizik from the Yisraelim collects from Zaburius. But the Chiddush is Ksubazisha. I would have thought I would have thought Mishul China. I would have thought to somehow ingratiate ourselves for women that they should be interested in getting married, that they shouldn't be taken advantage of. So maybe we should give it up for them, Ksuba Bainis. Akil Rabbana Gabo. That's what we would have thought. Kamash Fulan. A little bit hard to understand what I should just learn. A minute ago we said Yisha Ish Reitza Lisa Isha Rachel Nasa. We're saying
yeah, we have to encourage.
And now we're saying the enticement. A bit hard to understand. Taisha if we learn Shkina does not mean that we have to encourage her. We have to encourage people to be interested in marrying women. Men think it costs them a lot of money. If it doesn't work out, the risk. If it doesn't work out, they might end up losing all their properties. They might say, you know what, I'll remain single. So therefore, for men, to give incentive to men to want to marry. Rashi learns is to give incentive to women to want to get married. Rashi says that women should be interested in getting married. A bit hard to understand.
You always touch the meaning of the Ksubah that it's a protection for women, that the women should be cheap for men. He can't just
exactly.
But here, it's also to the man knows what he's getting into. He's got a premarital contract in place. He knows what it's going to cost him if he calls an end to it.
It's a combination of all above. Okay, so that's what Bar Zutra says, that for the husband, she collects babies. The mother then will repeat what he said, but let's go through the Gemara. Coming in. The mayor says you get a baby. Now, man, who's a mayor talking? The mayor, remember the mayor's talking about the Chama talking about the same person. It's either Yisraelim or the husband. If you're the Yisraelim, like you're learning Pshat, because you're saying from the husband, you get babies. According to Chacham as well. So from Meir, Chacham arguing by Yisraelim, how can you say Meir say from Yisraelim get babies? We know we have established from Yisraelim you only get Zaburis. Let's let Meir not doesn't agree with the rule. Ein Yifroyim and Yisraelim Ela Mina Zaburis. Ela La Minay. We're talking the argument of Meir Chacham is when you collect from the husband, she's divorced. You collect from the husband, you collect from babies, you collect from Zaburis. The cloud that Rabban Sabe, if it's a Buddhist, Rabban argue that says a Buddhist. He said again, Loi no, why is a mayor say this? For the very reason we said before. The shiny the mayor allows a woman to collect from the assignment. What do you call it? Because every woman is different than about chayv. You don't think that the guy is going to die, but the whole idea of ksuba is if the husband dies or is divorced. There's two options, so it's real, and it's in the mind. So therefore, we want to make sure that women have an incentive to get married. That mayor says he can give them babies. So we want to further. Abaye says, "Toshma, come in here." And Zokin, it says in our Mishnah, and the Zokin Shamilan Beidis, they pay Idis. And then it says Balchayv. So it seems we're talking about the same case, same people. But if it's a case of Hezek, you pay Idis. If it's a case of a loan, you pay Bainis. And if it's a case of Trubizisha, you pay the Buddhist. Now, the man who we're talking about, Yasper from Yisraelim, everyone pays the Buddhist. Trubizisha, if you look at Haninami, they all pay the Buddhist. Elav we're talking about directly from the person's alive. So Idi is by Nazikin, Ben is by Balchayv, and Zipudi is by Tzibah's argument and Mazutra. Amr Yaakov says, no, I can defend Mazutra. You know what we're talking about here? There's two kinds of guarantors. You have an Orev Stam and an Orev Kabbalah. An Orev Stam is, I guarantee this loan, and the pleasure that I have that you're going to give a loan based on my guarantee commits me to this loan, but the law is you don't go to the Orev first. First you go to the lender. If there's nothing left, then the lender goes to the guarantor. You're not allowed to go directly to the guarantor. But if you have an Orev Kabbalah, but the person says, I accept upon myself, you can come to me first, then you can bypass the labor and go directly to the guarantor and collect from the guarantor. That's an Orev Kabbalah. So come to Rabbi Yaakov says an interesting thing here. You know what we're talking about over here? Mamshut might be right. From the husband, you get if the husband's alive, you get a banis. From the same you get a zabudis. Our mission is talking about you going to the guarantor. The father became a guarantor on behalf of his son that he will take care of the ksuba if it doesn't work out. And what happened was the husband didn't pay and died, but the father is alive and he's going to pay out. So she's now going to the guarantor. All these three cases go to the guarantor. Yeah. So you can go to the following. The guy says, I'll take care of all my son's debts. And then the son died. So the high kidine. So in each one, he doesn't pay as if the Yisraelim are paying, which is a Buddhist. He pays. He steps in place of the son. Like he took a guarantee. Therefore, whatever the son would have paid had he been alive, that's what they pay. Idius, Bainis, the Zikir Balchayv, the Mechayim Gavu. So this is the Chiddush. So why is the Buddhist? If he's right that the husband, if the son would have been alive, you pay Bainis. Why now the son is dead, you pay the Buddhist? The other explains. When it comes to the Zikir Balchayv, the Mechayim Gavu, if the son would have been alive, you would have collected. Generally, they're alive because damage is still alive. So even when you go to the Orev, you collect as if the son was alive, which is the full din. Ksuvas isha, generally speaking, the la'achar misa gavir, generally a husband, the husband dies, that's when you collect the ksuva. So therefore, ula'achar misa, neman gavir, and if the son dies, you collect the ksuva from whom? From the Yisraelim. So the Arab steps in that case with the son, because the son died in this case, and the Arab steps in to pay the debt of the son when he normally dies, when the chiyuv starts. The chiyuv starts after the son died. He also magbi kalacha misa magbi. He too, when you collect, is kalacha misa magbi after he died. Says the Gemara, the Tefik late of Orev, the Ksuba le Mishtabed. We have a general rule. There's no Orev by Ksuba. We'll see more later. By a Ksuba is different because even though I'm a guarantor, my main purpose here is to make sure they get married. And the Ksuba is just a side issue here, and therefore it's the mitzvah that motivates me, and therefore I'm not really an Orev. Exactly. Like by Tsunaim, you have all these Arevim. How many people they even think what's
that's going to cost them $1?
Exactly. So the answer is Kabbalah. This is not an ordinary order. We're talking about an order of Kabbalah. An order of Kabbalah, you go directly to the order. That's different. because you go directly to or you bypass the thing. So therefore, even by ksuba and our kabbalah works. Says the Gemara, "Hanichel man do kabbalah is machlekes." Not so simple. This makes sense according to the opinion that says by Nor kabbalah afagav the lesle nichse leloive mishtabed. What happened at the time of the loan, whatever it is, the leiva has no assets. No, the general order. Why is he willing to be a guarantor? Because he knows that the leiva probably could pay the debt, but the guy wants to feel a little security, so I'll give my name to it. Not thinking the leiva have to pay. No other things the leiva have to pay. Then why would you do? Well, you don't have no benefit from the loan. Why would you do it? So if the leiva has properties. So according to what it said, that even the leiva has no properties, mishtabed, I'm an Arab shop. Makes sense. The son had nothing. The father had to step in, but it is a valid Arab. Okay, it's Arab Kablan, and that's what we're talking about here. By Ksuba, you pay only the buddies because the chiyuv doesn't start till the son dies. If you don't have any assets, the whole Arab is a sham. The son has no assets, right? His father has to step in. So there's no Arab here. There's no real Arab here. Why pay at all? Why is the father involved here? One answer is, but the Havila he did have. At the time of the marriage, he had the Ishtadif, and then he got flooded and it lost. Or that's talking about a stranger. Why would you help a stranger out and endanger your own assets? But for your son, for the love of your son, you'll do whatever it takes to help him get where he wants to get in life. So therefore, everyone agrees you're an Aruch Kabbalah, even though the person didn't have any assets at the time. Itma, now the Gemara explained. Itma, we learned Orev the Ksuba. When it comes to an Orev Ksuba, the regular Orev loy mishtabit. A regular Orev does not work by a Ksuba. Because there's no when on Orev, why is an Orev involved? Or what's the kinyan of an Orev? He's not doing anything. That didn't get the money, the loan, the satisfaction, that hana that he receives based on my Arvus, you are going to lend money, the loss of money here. That means you risk money because of me. That gives me a certain sense of satisfaction, which is worth money. And that is what commits me. So nobody's losing money here. A husband's marrying a wife. There's no risk. Nobody's losing money here. So what's the and therefore there's no kinyan here. There's no kinyan, number one. And we'll see later because the mitzvah. That's one thing. Kabbalah, on the other hand, if somebody's a Kabbalah Balchayv, if somebody steps in and say, I'll be an Arab Kabbalah, which means that not only am I an Arab, but I'm a Kabbalah, and you lost money, you risked your money because of me, and I said you can come directly to me, everyone agrees. That's a proper Arab, and that's a commitment. Arav the Balchayv, a stam Arav Balchayv. It's not an Arav Kabbalah, an Arav the Balchayv, where it says it only has one reason why you should be considered an Arav, because you gave money, I'm not counting me. But I never said you can come directly to me. I'm only a last resort. So it's one step lower than Arav Kabbalah. Or a Kabbalah the Ksuba. By Ksuba is not just an Arav guarantor, which is you didn't lose any money because of me, but I'm a Kabbalah. I said, come directly to me. Please. So each one only has one thing going for them. Here we have an argument. Equal amount of one opinion says that afagab, the less lane the chas of the labor, even the labor has no assets, mishtabit. Equal amount of but he's the mishtabit. Why would he risk it? There's nothing here. If there's access to the labor, so he thinks it'll never happen, then fine. But he less than mishtabit. The hilchos of halacha is we're leading up to our question. Bikul in all cases, afagab the less lane mishtabit in all cases. Even if you don't have, if the labor has no assets at the time, there's still a shiva going on. Bar, except Arav the Ksuba. The only Arav that could be mentioned before that the Arav Ksuba, there's no Arav, and we had to say the Arav Kabbalah, there's no Arav Ksuba, according to everybody. Why not? Because the Avak of the Eastlay, even if the husband or the son has assets, loy mishtab, in my time, a mitzvah David. The whole thing is based on a mitzvah here, and nobody's losing any money here. And just because I'm saying I'm a guarantor, I just want to make sure that continues to go proceeds, and because there's that's the motivation. It's not, there's no kinyan taking place. There's nothing happening here. There's no Isab saying it is not.
Why do we need
just to placate that other person to feel happy? The parents of the Kala want to make sure that she's taken care of.
Look, everyone knows the whole thing is all a show.
It still gives you some blanket of security. It's very easy to delude yourself. Exactly.
And adds the machlokes of things go wrong.
Okay, so that's how we explain according to Mazutra that a baininess, that a normal ksuba from the husband gets a baininess, but our Mishnah is talking about where there's an order. The father, you're not dealing with the son died. You're not dealing with the son, then you get the Buddhist. You're dealing with the father who steps in, so everything else is right. But in this case here, when it comes to ksuba, he gets a Buddhist because it's the order for the son that after he died. But otherwise, the husband is, if you're divorced, you get a bonus. Ravina said, Toshma, coming here. The Korah that the canton. What was the basis for the whole of the thing of a ksuba? We said before. Rabbi Shimon said, "Yo yisim and masha ish roitzel lisa ish roitzel." Say the whole basis why we don't give edis and all that is because we don't. She doesn't need an incentive, and that's the reason why we give us a buddhist. We don't need any incentive. The isal kedat of miyasme and you mazut was saying. So that's the Bryce of Shimon explaining the whole Mishnah. But if you're going to tell me that we're talking to the Yisayimim, Haimishim the Yasmehu, what does it have to do with Yosim Mishnah when you're dealing with Yisayimim? That's not a reason why by Yisayimim. According to you, the only time he gets a booty is if you're collecting Yisayimim. If you get in the husband's bainus, the reason that Shimon is giving explains between you and the husband. That why we're prepared to give you as a booty is because more than a woman doesn't need an incentive because she wants to be married. But now you're telling me that she only gets a booty if she's collecting the same. How does that reason apply? To Yufta the Mazutra to Yufta that repudiates Mazutra's opinion that a woman always collects her ksula regardless of if it's divorce or death from the booties. I'll 15 tomorrow, Mr. Shep.